Welcome to Business Class. I'm Steve Ekstrom from Learn Tourism, a nonprofit academy dedicated to advancing the tourism industry through innovative training and sustainable practices. Our mission? To empower travel professionals and communities with the knowledge they need to create meaningful, authentic, and sustainable tourism experiences. Ready to join us on this journey? Visit learntourism.org and start making a difference today. Hey, John, how are you?
Steve, how are you? I started actually in hospitality when I was 15. I started ski patrolling in a small ski area in New Hampshire. Fell in love with the ski industry, went to college in Boston, was a business major until they asked me to leave the business school with a 2.3 average after freshman year. Worked my way into economics. And Northeastern at the time was the largest private university in the country. And fortunately, one of the guys that I ski patrolled with when I was in high school was the dean of the engineering school. Wasn't an engineering guy, but whenever I needed to get into classes that I was blocked out of, I'd walk into his office and, "Hello, you're in class." He was my own personal guidance counselor. And somehow in a school of 50,000 people, I got a call from one of the other departments outside of economics that said, "Hey, we heard you want to get in the ski industry. We have a job opportunity for Vermont." Northeastern has a co-op program. From mid-December to mid-April, I moved to Vermont and worked in the sales and marketing office up in Sugarbush. And fell in love with the industry and really determined that I could make a life out of it versus just being a ski bum. Worked for Sugarbush seasonally log fab as a co-op for 4 years, came out of college in 1893 and became director of sales at a small resort in New Hampshire that was immediately bought by a big resort. And we immediately bought about 9 other resorts to become an American skiing company. It was an amazing ride. I got my VP title when I was 25. All of my counterparts were in their 50s and 60s. And really grew with the company for about 13 years until the opportunity that I wanted wasn't really made available to me in Utah. I went to be the VP of marketing for all 26 ski resorts in Colorado ski country. Most of my career has been in the ski industry. Colorado was phenomenal. I never really wanted to work for an association, but then I fell in love with it. When your bosses are Chris, Telluride, Steamboat, Winter Park, Aspen, not a bad group to be associated with. Unfortunately, after 3 years, Vail Resorts decided they didn't want to be part of the association anymore. My budget went down about 75%. Most of my team, including me, went away. A little stopgap. I got a call from a friend of mine who's running a resort in Grand Fargi up in Wyoming. I went to work for him for a couple of years. And then, as luck has it, as I know, I'm sure network is everything. Grand Fargi is a beautiful place, but it's really remote and limited, had young kids. I was interviewing in Telluride for the chief marketing officer position at the resort, talking to a friend of mine who ran Visit Telluride, who's now at Golden Knolls. I don't know if you know Scott McQuaid. And Scott was interviewing. So I was interviewing at Telluride for the CML position for the resort. Scott was interviewing in this place called Mammoth Lakes. And he was telling me how great it was. The board's great. The funding's great. They really haven't done a lot. There's a lot of opportunity. I called him the next week, said I can't move my family from remote Wyoming to remote Colorado. He said, my wife doesn't want to move to California. You want me to pick you up to the headhunters in Mammoth. Talked to the headhunter on a Friday, talked to the board on a Monday, came to visit the next weekend, took the job the following Monday. Been here for 14 years.
What stood out to you on that first impression that made you say, this is it? This is where I've got to be?
It's amazing because there are a couple of things. When I first moved here, people were like, oh, it's remote. It's like, you have never lived in Wyoming. 5 hours from you in Wyoming, I could be in Salt Lake City or Bozeman. Here in 5 hours, I can be in Las Vegas, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Death Valley, Yosemite. I've got all these different things. And within Mammoth Lakes, it's Carolyn Batetta, who runs Visit California, always says that California is an embarrassment of riches. Mammoth Lakes is an embarrassment of riches. And this background behind me is literally my backyard. When you get up in the morning on a weekend and you don't know whether you're going to go hiking, biking, fishing, golfing, there are just too many options. You ever remember? Are we going to take the motorcycle into Yosemite for lunch today? It's just, there are so many things to do. And then tomorrow morning, I leave for Los Angeles. We're going to the Los Angeles Kings. We're going down to their home opener for 5 hours door to door. I'll drive down and be at the LA Kings game and enjoy all that Los Angeles has to offer. So I get a little bit of everything. I get to live in my beautiful, nature-filled recreation bubble here in Mammoth. But I'm able to be, like I said, on the Strip in Vegas or downtown LA or San Francisco or a little bit further into the beach in San Diego. It's amazing how much there is to do here. It's one of these places where we, in the grand scheme of things, we have some of the best rock climbing in the country. And it's probably number 10 on our list of things that we would think.
What's something you wish you knew before you got to the destination that you've learned since?
I think a lot of it is exactly what you were talking about. I think a lot of us were caught off guard with a lot of the anti-tourism sentiment. And I think that when I came here 14 years ago, I think I would have really started building that structure a lot differently to make sure that when we came out of it, that we have the support of everyone. Right now, I face the challenge where we make the town a lot of money. 2 years ago, the budget was 16.5 million. We brought them 23 million.
Wow.
So the intent of money to be able to build the housing and build all the other things we need. But because people don't really understand or didn't really understand where the money is coming from, people were coming back saying our budget needed to be cut. We have too many people here, all of the strictly pieces. And even some of the people that I thought were huge supporters of us in tourism because they're business leaders in the community were leaning on us to build infrastructure and to solve all of the problems, which is not my forte. My forte is really in that marketing space, that education space, that communication space. It's not to build parking lots, see workplace trash cans and the like. It's been a big learning curve there. I wish that I had built a little bit more of the structure around that prior, but I guess it was one of those things where you don't know. And so
I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of certain nations were caught off guard by resident sentiment and have had a game of quick catch up, trying to establish themselves as being responsive to the community as much as to the traveler.
Yeah, I think we've all been a little bit of a victim of our own success. When I came here in 2010, the town was facing a lawsuit that they ultimately lost. A town that has about a $20 million operating budget lost a $48.5 million lawsuit. It's $2.5 million up front, $2 million a year for 23 years adds up. And of course, the easy button is to cut everybody's budgets. I basically went to them and said, listen, we need to grow out of this, which we did. But it's really hard because then my role was bring as much money to town as you can so we can avoid this $2 million a year impact. We did that. In the grand scheme of things, Stephen, I think the funniest thing, and it's true at a lot of destinations, we are probably at peak visitation, maybe 45 days a year. July 1 through August 15, there's probably 25, 30 days. And then the winter, we've got Christmas week. We've got a couple of the spring break weeks and maybe President's Weekend where it's a little bit maxed out here where you're waiting for a table at a restaurant for an hour. But I think the interesting thing that I find with anti-tourism sentiment or over-tourism, which I hate that word, is that it's really impacting the local perception. The visitors, my visitors coming, 80% of them coming from Los Angeles, they're not concerned about the wait times. They're not concerned about the crowds maybe at the trailhead. They're not concerned about a busy festival because it's something that they're used to in their normal everyday life. But for our locals, when you can't take a left-hand turn, that's when it starts to really impact us. And that's when everybody starts to get up in arms. I've had to really shift gears from the mentality of the town filing before a chapter of bankruptcy and having to make as much money as you can to avoid that to, okay, now how do we need to make sure that the quality of life for residents isn't impacted or mitigated by the visitors? And what are those things? Because there's nothing that we can really build for the locals that isn't going to benefit the visitor and vice versa. We impact transportation. If we are able to take our free transportation system and make it more efficient, make it more consistent, make it more reliable, make it more available, that's going to benefit the person that's hopping on there with their skis, whether they're a local or maybe they're out or visiting.
I noticed that was actually one of the points you had on It's a Mammoth thing was about park your car.
Yep.
Take the transportation. Where did that concept of the Mammoth thing come from?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's in response to a lot of the challenges that we've had here. And unfortunately, It's a Mammoth thing has been really phenomenal. Even just the first video that we did, which was basically encouraging people to pick up their dog waste. Unfortunately, we know that most of the people that are leaving the dog waste are locals, not visitors. So we're speaking to a much broader audience than just our visitors. And that video was well received. It was the little kid that we had in it. She was wonderful. My dog was in it, which is hilarious. Being on command is funny. But then we continued to grow the series in conjunction with the town and Mammoth Lakes Recreation to try and answer some of the questions that have been coming up about why are we just bringing everybody here? That's not the goal. For the last 5 years, we've really been an education organization versus a visitation organization. Of course, we're driving off season, we're driving destination, we're driving longer stay, all those different pieces. But This is a major part of our local education. And sadly, you were in the process of building a wildlife video. If you've watched the It's a Mammoth Thing videos, they're all kind of playful and fun. We're going to build a wildlife video that was along the same lines. We had an unfortunate incident where we had visitors that were not respecting a bear's territory. Visitor got swiped, bear got destroyed. 15-year-old bear that's been in the community forever that everybody loves. And we have probably 4 dozen bears that live in town. This was Victor. The outrage from the community about these uneducated visitors and what were they doing and why did the bear have to die and all these other pieces. Our playful messaging and kind of tongue-in-cheek was not going to work. We had to go back out and rewrite the scripts and really rerun the whole piece as to basically being a lot more over their head, saying, if you mess with wildlife, it could cost them their lives. I think that there's been a huge uproar in the community about that. And obviously, again, that goes back to anti-tourism sentiment because it wasn't a local that got swapped by a bear. But people don't remember 5 years ago when a local shot a bear in their front yard, which is totally illegal. Or when we had other bears that were problem bears that were dealing with locals. I was walking through my neighborhood this morning and I had 2 dumpsters that had been destroyed by a bear because somebody didn't lock them. That's not a visitor, that's our local. And so really defining these projects and that education is overarching. It's not just to the visitor, it's really speaking to our locals as well, because we know that they're not always as disciplined or supportive of nature as they should be as well.
It's funny, you've mentioned the word education several times, and I would say you're probably the first DMO exec that has mentioned that.
Really?
As much as you have. And what always stood out to me is marketing and promoting any tourism product is about educating the public that you have what they want. When you frame it like that, it's much, much easier to market.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where you're right. We want to educate them on the idea that there are all these great things to do here. But on the flip side, we came out with a fairly controversial, which I was surprised at how controversial it became. But I worked with my ad agency on a program right after COVID that almost, I would say almost got me fired, but I got my board's approval on it. It was a campaign that ran for less than 48 hours. And it was a song called Bleep Hole. And the idea was that we'd love to have you here, but don't be announced. Is basically what came down. And it bleeped all the swears out of it. And it was tongue in cheek, and it was fun. And it's, hey, we want you here, but don't do this, don't do that. Enjoy this, leave no trace. All the positive messages. And it was meant to be playful and meant to be fun. All the visitors that were complaining, or all the locals that were complaining about the visitors, all of a sudden turned on it and said, you can't say that about our visitors. There are, wait a minute, I'm trying to protect you guys. I'm trying to do it in a fun way. We took the campaign down after just 48 hours. And caught a lot of heat for it, but also won a lot of awards for it and had a lot of friends from around the country call and say, God, I wish we had the guts to do that. Because it was just calling people out. It was just saying, you can come up here. But what we were seeing here with COVID, like any other nature destination, they were escaping the concrete jungle. They were buying a tent at Walmart. They were going out in the woods, making a campfire and leaving it all behind. Just the amount of disrespect for our community and the environment was at such a crescendo that I just had to do something that was aggressive, over the top, or was going to get attention. And there's got a lot of attention.
I think it goes a lot of the way toward attracting visitors who share your community values.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the hard part now, this is where I struggle with Stephen, is that when you look at the community values, I'm worried that with our lack of workforce and our lack of housing in the hospitality industry, it's always been tough to get staff to begin with. It's always been tough to get staff that gives a shit. And now it's even harder. So I think the challenge is that the community values are all over the place. We've got the people that are here because they love nature. We've got the retirees who are here because they don't want anybody else to be here. We've got the kids that are here because they want to snowboard and play, and they really don't care about the community or the environment. They just want to be here because it's a cool, sexy place to live. When you talk about that and the community values, it's hard because the community values are everything from businesses need business to stay in business. We need to respect the environment so that bears don't get killed because they swiped at some stupid person standing on a stump that shouldn't have been where they were. It's really interesting because I think that it's just such a moving target every day. What's the shiny object that everybody's going to be upset about now? For the last month, it's been the wildlife because of the situation with Victor. Before that, it's traffic. And before that, it's trash. And before that, and it's funny because, again, it's all relative. I just got back from Santorini, Greece. It's a mess. It's disgusting. The amount of trash, no matter where you are, no matter how high-end location of the island you're in, there's just bottles and cans and bags and just everywhere. I look at our destination here, which in the grand scheme of things is pretty pristine. I take my dog out every morning for a 2-mile hike. Maybe I pick up one bag of dog waste that somebody leaves behind or on gum wrapper, but we don't have the problems that I think the community feels that we've had when you look at we compare it to places.
What's something about you that would probably surprise most of the people on your staff?
Good question. I don't know. Probably none of them know that I went to school in Ireland. I don't really know that there's anything that, I worked as a vendor in the Boston Garden when I was in college. It's not like I played the piano or I danced ballet or anything that would be really that shocking or off the wall. I don't know.
And what's something you hope every member of your team would say about you?
I think that they would, I would hope that they would say that I'm in this for the good of our community in the whole, because I think one of the things that I really try and instill in the team is that we are here to get good. And doing good is a combination of making sure that our businesses can thrive, that they can not only pay their bills, but they can maybe give people raises and continue to be in business, but also that our environment doesn't get disrupted. Our locals have what they need and that our visitors are respectful for our community and our environment. So I would hope that they would say that I am the chief steward of this destination.
What's something I didn't ask, but you wish I did?
As much as I hate it, I think we all deal with politics. And last year at this time, I was going through a mess with our town council. They're reaping all the benefits of our efforts to bring in visitation, and they were cutting our budget. And they were really giving us a hard time on reviewing our tourism business improvement district. I think that's a major challenge across the country. I've been a de facto consultant for John Urdi at Civitas because our team here at Tourism Business Improvement District, out of 100, I think we have 118 in the state of California. Ours was the first one outside of lodging only. So we broke the mold and did lodging, restaurant, retail, and our ski area, and raised about $7 million a year with that funding. I've had folks from Southern California to Portland, Maine, calling me to say, hey, how did you do this? What did you do here? We worked very closely to help North Lake Tahoe get theirs in place as well, which expanded outside of lodging. So it's just 2 of us in the state of California that have expanded out there. And funding is a brutal thing for everybody in this because the anti-tourism sentiment leads to let's cut their budget, let's take away the money. We don't need the exposure. And we all know that's just a death spiral, whether it's a slow one or a fast one.
What would you like to know about me? Or what would you like to ask?
What are you passionate about?
It took me a while to realize that I love to learn. Yeah, it is my passion. And I learn from every person that I meet, every place that I visit, everything I eat, everything I read, I learn. I'm thankfully one of those people that can connect dots and see similarities between this and that and the other thing. And I even mentioned it in our call today, so-and-so or whatever. And I'm thinking of some things Adam Burke has said and some things Martha Sheridan has said.
Both great friends.
Yeah, and good people too. And I think that's surrounding myself with good people who are like-minded, who find themselves enjoying the moment is something else that brings me great joy.
Yeah, and you bring up 2 people that I really do respect. Adam is a dear friend. In fact, I texted him yesterday because he's a huge LA Kings fan, obviously. And normally he and I catch up when I come down for a hockey game. And he's over in London for the Brand USA event and then off to another event. But I love Adam because he's so down to earth running one of the largest cities in the country. We have so much fun, and I'm a fairly small destination organization in the state of California, but I'm able to run with the big boys and participate and contribute. To your point, I think that network has been really huge to my success, not only for helping me get where I am, but also for helping me learn from the best. I've known Martha since she was Providence, and we stay in contact because I'm a New England boy. So whenever I get back there, and her nephew and his wife live here in Mammoth. All things. It's the network is important. And you're right, keeping your ears open and open minded and you listening to others. And frankly, I'll call Kelly Miller down in Winnie Beach and I'll say, Kelly, I'm dealing with this. I know you've done it before. How did you address it? What were your three things that you could walk away from that said, hey, I would never do this again, or I would always do this the next time? That network is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. We did that. One of the first things that I did founding the nonprofit was recruit advisors to be mentors to me and my team and friends like Fred Dixon. I've known Fred for over 20 years at this point. And again, I learned from every one of them. And what's really interesting to me and what's really important, I think, and unique about this industry is how available people are to share what they know and what they've learned. And it's something that I truly do appreciate. Like our time today, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that when I came to California, and this is my first DMO role, always been in this industry, always been on the marketing side. And I was blown away at the collaboration in this state. I mentioned Kelly Miller. Kelly set the world record for most people on a surfboard. They built this, 37-foot long surfboard and put however many people on it. And Kelly's response to me, sending him a congratulations, was, how do we turn this into a snowboard so we can do this at Mammoth and break a world record for that? But it's all about collaboration, and it's great because I know that I can pick up the phone and call any one of my counterparts. I can call Lindsay in Napa and ask her questions, or I could call Gary Sherwin down in Newport and ask him questions, or say, hey, we've got this opportunity with Visit California to do a surf and ski combo. Would like to have you guys be part of this program. It's really such a collaborative group. It's mind-boggling. It's not, we're all competitors to a certain extent, but for the most part, everybody is willing to share and we to help.
If folks want to learn more about visiting your area, how would they go about doing so?
Yeah, visit mammoth.com and then visit Mammoth on all social channels. Right now we're just wrapping up fall season. We'll be open for skiing in about 3 weeks. And so one of the longest ski seasons in the country. Typically we'll ski till 4th of July. A couple of years, so we've actually skied into August out here. So it's, again, embarrassment of riches when you've got one of the top ski resorts in North America. And then we're also the Eastern Beltway Yosemite in the summertime. All the information is on visitmammoth.com, and folks can connect with us on all social channels.
And folks won't see this because this is broadcast in audio, but the background is truly fantastic. If that is your backyard, I will park my van there at some point or another. So be prepared for me and my dogs to join you for a walk sometime.
No worries. Kenzo and I would appreciate that.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great day.
Stephen, thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Business Class. This episode was brought to you by Learn Tourism, the nonprofit academy where we advance the tourism industry with cutting-edge training and sustainable practices. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to visit learntourism.org to learn more about our programs and how you can get involved. Until next time, stay curious, continue learning and making a difference through tourism.